There's something else I want to note. It's been 2 years since President Obama issued an executive order. It was known as the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Program, DACA. Here's the history. 13 years ago, I got a call in my Chicago office from a Korean mother who said she had a problem. She had brought her daughter to the United States at the age of 2 on a visitor's visa. Her daughter was now grown up, 18 years of age, and she'd never filed any papers for her. Technically, Mom, who was here legally as a citizen, had an undocumented child in her house. And the problem was that this undocumented girl had turned out to be a spectacular pianist and had won an opportunity for scholarships to the Juilliard School of Music and the Manhattan Conservatory of Music. She was that good. And when she went to fill out the application, they asked her for citizenship. She turned to her mom and said, "What am I?" And her mom said, "I don't know." The girl said, "What are we going to do?" And Mom said, "Let's call Durbin." So they called my office, and we checked the law, and the law was very clear. That little girl, who'd been in the United States for 16 or 17 years at that point in her life, was undocumented, and under the law had to leave the United States for 10 years and apply to come back in. That's how the law was written. And I thought to myself, not fair. That little girl didn't have any say in her parents moving here. She had nothing to say when they failed to file the necessary papers, and now she was the victim of our legal system and her parents' failure to file the papers so she could be here legally. So I introduced the DREAM Act. And the DREAM Act, I introduced 13 years ago, said if you are in that kind of a circumstance, brought here as a child by your parents, you've lived in the United States, finished high school, no serious criminal record, we'll give you a chance. You either enlist in our military or go at least 2 years to college, and we'll put you on the path to citizenship. That's the DREAM Act. Well, that bill has been around a long time, as you can tell, 13 years. It is passed in the Senate as part of the comprehensive bill. It's passed in the House individually. It's never passed in both places, which, as we know, is what's necessary to become a law. So I wrote to President Obama with 22 of my colleagues, at one point included Senator Lugar of Indiana, my Republican colleague then, and asked the president, create an executive order so these young people eligible for the DREAM Act will not be deported while we debate. Give them a chance to be here in a legally recognized status because they would qualify under this bill that continues to pass, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And that, of course, did pass, was enacted, I should say, by the president in executive order 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And after it was enacted, Congressman Luis Gutierrez and I in Chicago said, we want to give all of those eligible to apply for this deferred action protection under the executive order a chance to sign up. So Luis and I said, we're going to reserve Navy Pier. If you've ever been out to Chicago, there's a huge ballroom at the end of Navy Pier, one of the most popular sites in downtown. And we're going to invite any young people who want to sign up for DACA so that they won't be deported, come in and sign up. And I said initially, I hope we get 200 people to come because we got a big room here. In the end, over 10,000 showed up. Overwhelmed us. We had volunteer lawyers there. We had lots of friends there and people helping. Parents got in line midnight the night before, standing with their kids, waiting for a chance to give these kids a chance to be legally in the United States and not deported. That's how much it meant to them. Some of these parents, sadly, didn't have the same protection, but they wanted to do everything they could for their kids. Well, time has passed, and in the course of time, we've seen 560,000 children across America who signed up for this protection under DACA.